What up, viewers? This is Giabora Disaster here. Got you a new deck profile from the BT14 set. Um, I apologize I haven't been uploading more content. I unfortunately, since I just moved here in October, have not had really the funds to dump into buying more cards. So I'm missing a lot of stuff. I literally was only able to pick up the stuff for this deck and my training cards so far. And with the holidays rolling around, money's got to go towards, Christmas and stuff. So with that said, I was able to pick up this deck finally, and thankfully I was able to do some testing with friends before playing it, because I'll tell you, this deck is not easy to just pick up right out the gate. It is actually somewhat difficult. It's got a pretty good curve to it. It definitely rewards good playing and good memory management. As does the current format. You can't really just blow up in your opponent's face whenever you want at this point, because some decks are just actually just super good at having a crackback, and then you just lose all your advantage and blah blah blah. I also noticed in my last handful of deck profiles, since I did my improving your game segment, I haven't mentioned my CPRs as I have been, so I want to go ahead and make sure I'm bringing that up again here for this deck and this point going forward, since it's kind of my thing. The deck we had for you here today, though, is the Loogamon deck. I absolutely love this deck, and ever since I saw Loogamon being spoiled, I'm like, yes. This deck's super fucking good, pardon my language. The only thing I have to say about it is that this deck, it's a little fragile, and it takes some very well-timed plays to be good. Like, you have one of the best removal option cards in the game, not options in the game right now, in the form of Hell Loogamon. And because he doesn't require an on Digivolve or something, you can sometimes just hard play him, end your turn, use his effect, and do all his little shenanigans. He's honestly my favorite card in the deck, and being able to just clear threats with it, it's so good. But anyways, yeah, we'll just go through the deck, and then I'll explain why I like this deck as much as I do. Rookies, we're playing for Loogamon. This is like your heart and soul rookie of the deck. You don't necessarily have to see it to win, but it definitely amps up your speed in the early game. Speaking of which, before I go further, the CPRs for this deck, consistency, it's pretty high. It does the same thing every game typically. Even outside of the training cards and analog use, this deck just, it gets to its pieces eventually. It has no protection, but instead of having protection, it's got crackback power. Removal, it's super high. The ability to remove almost any threat with Hell Loogamon, and the ability to attack over anything with Fenrir Loogamon is insane. And as far as speed goes, this deck is at least as fast as Bloom Lordmon, for the most part. Obviously, your top end does almost all your work, but aside from that, I would say this deck's just as fast, potentially just as good. But anyways, back to the rookies. I'm on 2 of the Drachmon. So, I've seen some lists playing 4 copies of this card, but I like this card a lot as a small number. It's not a dark animal, so it doesn't count towards your drop. Whereas your Fenrir Loogamon needs to revive dark animals or SOCs, and he's neither. So, I don't want a high count of him. I will say, however, his Inherited is insanely good. I honestly wish it was on another card so I could use it a bit more effectively, because this is the card I would rather have in the raising area if I'm gonna Digivolve in the back. If I'm gonna try and set up this card with the AG and get the extra memory all in one go, then obviously I'm gonna Digivolve with this on the back. But this isn't a bad card by any means. I just feel like it's not as good just because it doesn't fit the traits. We're playing 3 of the Fascomon from ST14. This card, I've been waiting for this card to show up finally. It's a very good card. It can attack players, but it's a blocker level 3. And since it's Dark Animal, it can be resurrected by Fenrir Loogamon. It gives you a really good fallback if you're not trying to just, completely kill your opponent in one turn. And lastly, 2 of the Fascomon from BT13. Just another Dark Animal. And its Inheritable actually comes up sometimes. And he's just a good rookie to attack with. Overall, just a good card. For level 4s, we are on just 4 of Loogamon and 4 Fangmon and 2 Black Godamon. So, for those that don't actually know this deck, Black Godamon is a dark animal with Rush, and since he falls under the criteria needed to be resurrected by Fenrir Loogamon and Soul Loogamon, you get extra attacks randomly. There are a lot of lists that are on 3 of this card. I don't think it's great at 3. The inheritable and retaliation does seldom come up, but like, excuse me, I would rather honestly just like bring something else back to trigger an on play or something, because like 3 of this card is great when you have the Fenrir Loogamon, but it's almost awful without it. So sure, I'd rather pitch this in most situations, but like the card's really good. I don't think 3 is necessary. Usually just the Soul Loogamon plus Fenrir Loogamon and 2 of this is enough to kill it out of the game, because that's swing, 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 all at 2 security apiece, swing, swing. So yeah, that's 8 damage in 1 turn, so you don't necessarily need the 3rd Black Godamon. This card is insanely good, the Fangmon. I'll be honest, the evil side of the Dark Animal line I absolutely adore. This card and Hell Loogamon are like my favorite cards in the deck. They do so much, and that's where like the skill comes in, being able to time the discard properly of what you're trying to bring back, what you're trying to discard, when you're trying to use the Valmon Inheritable to Digivolve mid-attack. And then we got our 4 Soul Loogamon. This is your primary level 5 you want to Digivolve into, because usually you just Digivolve into this. His effect brings back a Dark Animal level 3. If you've got AG in its sources, you can bring back a level 4. So typically you can use this to bring back like the Black Godamon, and then on swing, discard a card, gain a memory, and then that discard will proc Balmon and allowing you to Digivolve into Fenrir Loogamon mid-attack. And then we have the Hell Loogamon. This is the other level 5. I absolutely adore this card. This card makes this deck ceiling so high. First off, he's a 9k, which is insane for a level 5. Usually up to this point you've seen level 5s that with 9k they'd be vanilla. But this guy has 9,000 DP. End of turn, you just delete him, draw 2 cards, return Loogamon from trash to hand, and then on deletion you trash up to 3 cards from your hand, and then blow up a rookie on the opponent's board. But if you, but for every card you've discarded, you raise the level of the card it can delete. So you can delete up to a level 6 just simply by blowing him up, basically, because you get 3 cards back and then you discard 3. So, and like I said earlier, you can just hard play this, ending your turn, and then trigger the end of turn effect to blow itself up and then pop their stuff. This card is nuts. This is the reason to play the deck IMO. And then I'm on 1 Chimeramon as well. I don't see this in a lot of lists, but since you make a full board with Fenrir Loogamon, this card just comes up a lot. It's also your way around Quartzmon, because then you're like, oh, all my stuff's rested, okay, Chimeramon, Fenrir Loogamon, continue. And then you just attack into the Quartzmon and just wipe their board, basically. He's got a couple other nifty applications. Make sure that you can get the inheritable off of Soul Loogamon more often, even though you're on 4 copies. Here's our big boy of the deck, Fenrir Loogamon. This card is nuts. The fact that we have a card that reads literally on Digivolve, res 3 dudes, and on attack, pop one of your opponent's dudes to unsuspend itself. Pardon? And then, oh wait, I forgot, my turn doesn't end until you're at 3 memory. This card basically also just reads, gain 2 memory every turn, effectively. Because, like, as long as it's in play, your opponent does not have a turn until it reaches 3 on their side. And because it has to do that, even if you put them at 2, let's say you don't have any plays left to make, and you don't want to give them any more memory, you can just literally pass them 1 memory to 3. It's like, it's no downside. But, like, this card is, it's so much in 1 card, and this is obviously the other reason to play the deck. It's your OTK, it's your huge board push. Yeah, nothing really to say about that point. One of the techs I'm on, not very many lists of this I've seen are on it often, but the one Ruin Mode is, I would say, my trump card in this deck. I have a lot of local players that tend to play like Armor, and Hybrid, and other stuff that's just really susceptible to this. So this card comes up a lot more often than probably expected. Although with the increased desire to play Rookie Rush and Armor right now, thanks to the movie pack stuff like Loogamon, this card's just super good. Also, like, it works in tandem with the Analog Youth that you already play. And once Fenrir Loogamon's done its stuff, it's kind of just dead. So rather than leaving it up for a blocker with Aegis effect, I sometimes just turn it into Ruin Mode just so that way that my opponent's not going to get past my board on the next turn. Because if you think about it, it makes it to where my Fosgomon blockers are 7k effectively. Since, you know, all their dudes get -5. It also prevents most raising areas from being pushed out for fear of just getting blown up. So, like, I feel like this card just, it comes in way too clutch to not include in a deck like this. That's all for Digimon. Onto options. We have the new Wisdom Training card. This card is crazy. These cards are crazy. Thankfully, like 90% of the decks in the game can play them, so it's not like any decks really are excluded from playing them outside of like Hunters. And then we're on 2 Mist Memory Boost. A lot of lists I saw were playing 2 more copies of this, so like 4, maybe 3. It is a very good card. I love this card to death. However, I'm also a bit more prone to running into like Gazimon clones at my local type games, so I try to be on a little less of these if I can. And I will tell you now, just from running into Beelstar with this deck, just running into a Gazimon, it shuts you down hard. Because your Loogamon gives you memory, Lugarmon gives you memory, the memory boost gives you memory. It just really slows you down. And there are some games you'll just end up losing because your opponent's just like a turn faster while they have a floodgate up. So to supplement that, I'm actually on 1 copy of the Matt from the Guru starter deck. He's a memory tamer, so obviously it's generically good there. But since you do a ton of discarding in this deck, the second effect actually comes up a lot. So I figured instead of playing a memory boost, which is even more hindered by floodgates, this card just comes up just as much. And if you think about it, you're getting the same amount of memory over time with it. Sure, you're spending 1 extra to play it overall, but you get the extra memory pretty much every turn that it's up. You get the memory tamer effect every turn because your opponent's not going to want to. You know your opponent doesn't want to have to give you 3 memory if they don't have to, but now they don't have a choice. So I feel like this card, it's a fine replacement for a Mist Memory Boost, and it makes me a little less susceptible to Gazimon clones. Now, onto the last heart and soul piece of the deck, and that is Eiji Nagasumi? Yes. So, I'll be quite honest. Playing this deck, I forget a lot to use his ability to Mind Link. And you can't. Because, like, you lose half of your effects if you don't. Another big skillful part of this deck is knowing when to Mind Link and knowing when to detach it. I won't lie, most games I will just detach it the moment my turn ends, so that way I can no longer leave like my extra memory every turn susceptible. However, his inheritable does give the Digimon blocker as well. So if I say I don't want to try to press my luck with your security this turn, I can leave my Fenrir Loogamon unsuspended and keep this card in it, and it becomes a 12k blocker. So like, there's a lot of niche uses with this card outside of the obvious usual stuff. But very good card. I love this guy so much. And then lastly, we're just on 4 Analog Youth. This card is an absolute staple in this deck. You have to get a ton of cards in your discard pile. You don't really have a great searcher for your deck, so like having another good searcher is good for this. Also, the second effect that lets you hatch a Digi-Egg and get a memory, it happens a lot in this deck because like your Hell Loogamon deletes itself most of the time. It will have something under it. Your Fenrir Loogamon will sometimes just die in security, or they'll blow it up. And your Ruin mode blows itself up when it attacks. So, like, everything fits together. And this card is a huge extender. Like, if you have 2 or 3 of these up, and you do, like, your whole move with Hell Loogamon, sometimes you'll end up going back into your turn and being able to continue. So, like, this card is just getting better and better as the sets come out. But it is an absolute staple in this. So that is the Loogamon profile. Like I said, I've been wanting to play this for a while since I saw the cards spoiled. Deck is insane. Do not just immediately pick it up, take to a tournament. Unless you are already seasoned with the deck, it's actually relatively difficult to pick up right away. It took me a handful of games just to get all the stuff down, and I'm still missing points where I forget to put AG under my guy before I activate an effect. Thankfully, most of the time, it doesn't matter much. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. And stay tuned. I do have the Diaboromon deck profile about to be posted soon. I'm just waiting on 4 cards to come in the mail so I can finish it. But thanks for watching. You guys have a great night, and happy holidays.
If you enjoyed that video and want to see more, feel free to click on the most recent video link on the left side of the video, or just go to my channel link and check out all the awesome Digimon content I have for you there. While you're there, smash the subscribe button for me so we can keep the channel going. Also, more content on my TikTok about Digimon news, card releases, and just general rants about the card game, and the occasional random video. Don't forget to answer the question of the week at the bottom of this video, down in the comment section, and as always, have a diabolical day.